You might think Israel's nuclear weapons program began in the shadows of American power. But the truth is far stranger. It began in Paris. In the aftermath of World War II, both France and Israel were nations on edge, scarred by war, isolated diplomatically, and driven by the idea of never again. By the mid-1950s, their interests quietly aligned. France was battling anti-colonial uprisings in Algeria. Israel was surrounded by hostile Arab nations. And both viewed Egyptian leader Jamal Abdel Nasser as a growing threat. So, behind closed doors, the two countries made a pact. Not just a military alliance, something far more powerful. In 1957, under the cover of a scientific cooperation agreement, France secretly agreed to help Israel build a nuclear reactor in the desert town of Dimona. But this wasn't about energy. This was about survival. The facility was constructed with French blueprints, French engineers, French nuclear fuel. Parts were even shipped under fake labels, disguised as agricultural or desalination equipment. The entire operation was buried in secrecy. The goal? To give Israel the ability to build a nuclear bomb and keep it hidden from the world. At the time, France had just begun its own nuclear weapons program. President de Gaulle saw nuclear arms as a path to independence from both the US and the Soviet Union. And helping Israel. That was payback for its support in the Suez Crisis, and a way to maintain influence in the Middle East. Meanwhile, Israeli leaders like David Ben-Gurion and Shimon Peres were obsessed with deterrence. They believed the Holocaust had proven one thing: Jews could never rely on others for protection. The world had turned its back once. They wouldn't let it happen again. By 1960, US intelligence discovered satellite images of a massive reactor site near Dimona. Israel claimed it was a textile plant, then a metallurgy center, then a research lab. But American analysts weren't convinced, and they were right. France had not only provided the reactor, it had supplied weapons-grade plutonium processing equipment, training, and possibly even uranium. By the mid-1960s, Israel had the technology and the fissile material to build nuclear weapons. And most experts believe it had its first working bombs before the Six-Day War in 1967. But here's where things get even more interesting. In 1961, President de Gaulle, growing more cautious, ordered an end to further nuclear collaboration. France officially cut off assistance, but it was too late. The reactor was complete. The plutonium was flowing. And Israel had crossed the nuclear threshold. What came next was a doctrine of silence. Israel refused to confirm or deny its nuclear capability. And the US stopped asking. President Nixon, in an unspoken agreement, allowed Israel to keep its arsenal, as long as it wasn't tested or declared. It was the birth of what we now call nuclear ambiguity. Today, Israel is believed to possess at least 80 to 100 nuclear warheads, possibly more, making it the only nuclear power in the Middle East. And yet, it's never signed the Non-Proliferation Treaty. Never opened Dimona to inspectors. Never admitted what the world already knows. But it all started with France. With a quiet partnership, forged in distrust and desperation. Two nations who believed they had no one else to rely on. Two allies who built a bomb, not for war, but for survival. At TriviaTales, we dive into the stories the history books leave out. Because behind every official statement, there's a secret document. Behind every alliance, there's a deeper motive. And sometimes, the key to understanding today's power is hidden in yesterday's silence.